Good evening, Fantasy Goats. I am your shepherd here on this beautiful, fantastic June 27th at a special time of course, 8:17. We have a very special show for everyone this evening. Consider it like a 2-for-1 special, right? Right? No,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
we have a very special guest, a um, a league mate. Okay, yeah, he's a league mate. When then I say, well, I mean, that sounds like so nice. He's also an opponent.
He's an opponent, period.
He's
That's
also an
it.
opponent. Our special guest, we're going to bring him up in just a second. And part two of this very special 2-for-1 show this evening, we are kicking off the Fantasy Goats Champion League 1
Yes,
20,
sir.
2025 draft. We are going to attempt to get through. I'd love to say we're gonna get through a round. I mean, it is a little bit of a. Here's a disclaimer, Rhino. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're not on a very fast timer. That's why I'm kind of like projecting that if we could get through one round under the conditions of the draft timer, then we're gonna be golden. If not, again, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how the pace is. If everyone's ready to go, which I hope they are, then we're fantastic. But yeah, that's what we got in store for everyone. Hello, Sir Hand Goat. How are you this evening? Welcome. Thank you for coming. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Oh, wait, we know Sir Hand subscribed. Yeah, so why don't we bring up our special guest?
Do it, man. I'm ready to get started, bro.
Yeah. Well, I'm ready to start too. What I figure we'll do is get to know a little bit more about Joe Carlton, which is our special guest, by the way. I just blew it. He'll tell us exactly what he's been working on, what he's currently doing, the kit and caboodle that we'd like to do with special guests. And we'll do a nice little exercise. We'll do like a nice little fantasy draft, but using just the NFC North. Yeah, that should carry us right over into the Fantasy Goats Invitational. Yeah, I'm so nervous. I'm stuttering myself. All right. Well, without any further ado, this man comes to us from the depths of the dark world of high stakes fantasy, also of high stakes poker, I believe. But overall, that should not deter you. That should not leave you with the impression that this isn't a fantastic dude. This is a fantastic goat, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and goats. Joe Carlton, how are you? Look at this man.
How's it going, Siege?
It's going, man.
Pleasure to be on, man. So I don't play high stakes poker. A lot of people think that like $500 to $2,000. No, listen, I play $500 to $2,000 buy-ins. That is not high stakes poker. High stakes poker is what you see on TV. People throwing $200,000 out on a bet.
Look, I suppose like we appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
I think it sounded a hell of a lot better that you were also a high stakes poker player, but nevertheless, you are a
high stakes fantasy player.
All right.
Now we're talking.
I'd like to get to that, of course, the high stakes element to the industry. But first and foremost, what's going on, man? Like, how long have you been just playing fantasy in general? Tell us how you got into this podcasting business that you're doing with the sports affiliation, folks. So yeah, let us know. Talk to us. Give us a little brief intro before we get into the fantasy football draft of the NFC North edition that will lead us into the Fantasy Goats Invitational draft.
So I've been playing since 1998. I've actually, if you count me doing research and playing under my mother's name on the Sporting News salary cap games, I never won anything. But I was a teenager, and that's what I couldn't get a league going. It was hard to get a league going back then. Especially in high school.
The Sporting News salary caps.
The Sporting News salary cap game. I played under my mom's name. Yeah, that's how I met one of my fellow high stakes players. Actually, I recognized his name 20 years later when I entered the high stakes world. But I basically we were playing a two-hand touch football game, and after we got done playing, I was with my cousin and his friend, and his friend's older brother ran a fantasy football league, and they had a dropout, and we went back to his buddy's house, and we were having they had a barbecue. They fed me, so that was good. They took barbecue, yeah, and
folks, if you're not familiar with that accent, and we're not even going to disclose where Joe Carlton is from, but keep going, please.
All right, so I stepped in, and I drew the second pick. I took Barry Sanders. They all laughed at me because he apparently had a lot of touches and yards the year before, and and it was a touchdown. Like they only got put. It wasn't a put. Like back then, it was 3 points for a 100-yard game and 6 points for a touchdown. And you got 4. I think you got 1 point from another 50 yards, and so on and so forth. So they laughed at me for that. But what saved me is another pick. They laughed at me in the 20th round, the very last pick. I took Randy Moss in his rookie year.
Oh my!
And they all laughed at, he was, I don't think must have been a lot of leagues he didn't go drafted in that year. But I took him in the 20th round and he paid off big time. I ended up losing in the finals, but I was hooked. I was like, I gotta do more of these drafts.
Now, so in 1998, were they still having to write it on a piece of paper? Then
oh yeah. So you had to call your opponent and the league commissioner, which was my buddy's older brother, and give them your lineup anytime on Sunday morning. He was like, they were like, don't give it earlier because if you change it, I don't want to have to change it all those times. And so it was Sunday morning. You had to make the phone call. You had to call your opponent. You had to tell your opponent the lineup. You had to tell the league commissioner the lineup. There was no group chats back then. You just call. There was no, so you had to call each one individually. And then you did. Your opponent was supposed to do your points and their points, and everybody did each other's points, who you were playing, and then the commissioner did everybody's points. And it was like you had to make sure it was all the same, otherwise and there were occasions where there were mistakes and, nobody cheated or anything like that. It's just mistakes. So that's why that was the process back then.
It's funny. I think people I think you were saying, wait, see, I think your first league, was it writing on the piece of paper and stuff?
So I used to keep spreadsheets. So this is what I mean. Before I was even in a fantasy league, I used to kind of people call me a nerd all you want. I used to simulate a 10-team league in a draft, and I used to mock draft and put the teams together. And then I created a spreadsheet in my notebook with a ruler and a pencil, and I used to just do the points and award a team a win and just observe like what roster builds did well, how much consistency mattered. Like this was the edge back then, in my opinion, was if you did the points for your league, you had a huge advantage over everybody else if no one else paid attention to it and took it seriously. Now, little did the commissioner know I did the points for everybody in that league too, and I used to catch mistake. Sometimes I would catch a mistake myself and bring it to their attention. So that was a big part of me learning like exactly what it takes to put together a good build in a winning football team.
See, my first league was 1990, so now I have a better appreciation of like sleeper, how they do the points are done everything. I mean, back then we had to look at the newspaper, write all the stats down, send it to the GM, or the commissioner. Oh, I don't miss those days. I'm appreciative of these days right now. I couldn't imagine having to do that. Especially in multiple leagues.
Did you say 90? Like what?
1990, yeah.
With a 0 at the end?
That's when I started watching football. I think I watched like in the late 80s, but 90s when I really started understanding it.
Yeah, no, I've had this conversation God knows how many times. Growing up, we were just strictly baseball, strictly basketball, and football was always there. It was in the background, and it was only the Jets or the Giants. We used to go to our friend's house. We would we would watch, like either the Jets were on at 1 o'clock and then the Giants would be on 4 or vice versa. They were never on at the same time in this market, from what I remember anyway. And we enjoyed it, but football didn't supersede the other two sports until one of two things occurred. A, fantasy, but B, or 1A to that, was that internet boom that happened maybe a year or two right after you began, Joe. When you said you're still jotting down shit in 1998, I don't think Yahoo or CBS or those two sites, maybe ESPN also, but I'm pretty sure came on third. They didn't really. They must have just caught lightning and caught fire right there, right at like around that 2000 millennial turn.
Yeah.
And that's what got us into it. And of course, now let's add the third element to it. We also got to a certain age. We were 19 at the time. We were 20 years old at the time. We had a little bit more money in our pockets with zero bills. So it only became natural to, okay, well, why don't we do a fantasy football league? And that's when it completely, that the sport and the game itself completely trumped anything else. Anything. And I mean, and still, my home leagues are still on Yahoo. I don't particularly like it, but we still play on Yahoo. We've played on CBS. I grew up with these guys, like you have grown up with these guys, like Rhino's grown up with these guys. I mean, some of these dudes are still Scott Pianowski survived the carnage. Congratulations, Scott Pianowski, a legend. Speaking of the Fantasy Goats Invitational, Scott the King Engel, who's at CBS. He's playing in League 6. He was drafting with us, playing with us. Yeah, I mean, this is who I grew up with. Now we get to be amongst them. This is a fantastic thing. So that's going to lead me into, I guess, my next question to you. We're playing never stopped. We're still playing the game. When did you want to take the other side of the coin to be able to present what's upstairs and what's in here to the goats and to all the others out there? Like, when did you want to produce content, create it?
So I've always had people contacting me, texting me, and asking me lineup questions and stuff like that. I can't say I never really. I mean, I like helping people. Like if you know me personally, you know that I'm all about, like, I'm generous as a motherfucker. Like, it's like sometimes I'm naive about it, but I like to help people. So that's basically it. I was always worried about getting comfortable enough to give my message. One thing about me too is whenever I go. So, like, my fellow high stakes opponents can attest to this, because when I attended my first live draft last year, I was like not socially uncomfortable, but just like awkward, because it's the first time I've been to a place that I've never been before. And I'm looking forward to going this August, because I'm going to have a blast. So, like, that's all going to be all gone, like that anxiety part about it. So
I'll carry the anxiety for you, and not go and still get that anxiety.
Yeah, well, you're from New York. You can go, man. Greenwich Street Tavern this year. Well, I don't know if they'll probably let you in if I tell them you.
They'll probably let me in.
The guy Chris, his name is Chris Vaccaro. He's a NFFC Hall of Famer. He's also won a couple of different overall titles. He owns a bar. There was another guy who was also going to be in the draft, and they're shutting down the whole bar for us. It's usually it was at Dave and Buster's for the longest time, and then last year they were renovating that place, so they did it at the Westin Hotel, and I guess it costed them a pretty penny. So now this time they, he decided we're going to shut down my bar and do it there. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I think that's very appropriate. I think it's very appropriate, and the Westin's appropriate also if you want to get into, high roller, high stakes sort of thing. But
the food was terrible.
At the Westin.
Yep.
I haven't been to this one.
Times Square. It was like in time. Like Manhattan, whatever you want to call it.
I don't go to Times Square unless I have to go to the Scott Fish Bowl. I think the draft is not too far off of Times Square this season. But no, the only Western I've been to is actually in Atlanta, and I mean, I don't know about the food, whatever. I wasn't there for the food. Yeah, so you now deliver your message. You got comfortable delivering the message.
Yeah,
people were they were asking you, line up advice, and yes, that's pretty much what kind of triggered the light bulb for us. I would say, like, yeah, like we were getting those questions on the spaces, even if it was Tuesday, we were getting the questions that were for a Sunday. And yes, I get it. It's not. I don't mind answering. I like the idea of it, providing the advice. I think there's a lot more that goes into the content. I think you'll agree. I know Rhino agrees.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, so now that you're comfortable, is it based on the fact that you have the freedom to now just like be able to, present your content? You have, you're in a good space, you're in a good spot.
Yes. So I've met I joined social media in 2022. I was never on Facebook or anything like that, MySpace. I never did any of that. Probably should have, because I'd probably be like way more established than I am now. But I joined in 2022, and I met a few nice people, and they gave me advice, and we talked football behind the scenes, not on a podcast. Nobody ever asked me to go on a podcast, whatnot. Just other, some of you content creators. We just, they answer, the ones who would answer their DMs and talk football. And slowly, people started pushing me after a couple of years of me being consistent in the space, I guess. Is probably what did it. And Greg Kellogg and the TSA, they were doing a Pros versus Joes thing during the season, where they would have two professional analysts on with two people who aren't professional, and you go over the start and sits, you pick a start and sit and stuff like that. And I went on that in week 12. It was either week 12 or week 13, but I think it was week 12. And afterwards, Iggy and JC reached out to me, and they were like, you're really knowledgeable. You should, do some shorts and do some videos and work on your comfortability and your delivering your message skills.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it kind of stuck with me for a little while. Now, at this time, this was like late November. I had a lot of stuff going on. Like family stuff, personal stuff. And then, my dad passed in December. So I wasn't I took the comments and the advice, like a nice thing, but it didn't really set with me. So to the point where that was my spark, and I got to start getting into this. And then not even a few days, it was 3 or 4 days after my dad passed in December. So I went 3 weeks without talking to Jay. I was kind of silent. I wasn't that active on Twitter and stuff. And JC reached out to me and was telling me about that they want me to come back on and learn the format. And I was like, okay. So when that happened, they told me, Greg called me on the phone. We had Greg Kellogg, great guy. We had a good a 45-minute hour conversation of just him telling me his plans for the next year and how he wants me to take over Thursday Check Down and co-host it with Rick Bruce Wellis, great, another great guy, great co-host. Love the guy. He's awesome. and that's kind of where it started. And from there, it's just getting the reps in and getting more comfortable. I mean, and eventually I started Aces Up, and that's what I got going on right now. I mean, just Aces Up, Thursday check down. I've been doing.
That's where I got the. I think that's where I got the poker from. I wouldn't have known.
Well, yeah, we're gonna have some poker guests on, but not until poker players are busy right now with the World Series of Poker in Vegas. So the World Series is going on. It's just ended, so I gotta wait to get them on. But
yeah, I mean, to be completely honest with you, Greg Kellogg. Who I've interacted with now for several years. I got social media basically the same time as you as well. Basically, 2022, you said 2023 is when our paths crossed. When we got into the Fanatics, is that the name of the league? Fanatics Dynasty, baby. That's where we are. That's where we are competitors first. Second is tonight's Fantasy Goats Invitational. But yeah, Greg Kellogg happens to be a very down-to-earth individual. He really is, through my, handful of interactions, handful of times. I don't agree with a lick the man says, but that does not mean that he's not a nice person. Okay. Speaking of, isn't Greg Kellogg he's a Lions guy, isn't he? He's a Lions fan, right?
He is a Lions fan.
Aren't we about to do a little fantasy football NFC North draft, kind of like a nice warm-up exercise before we kick things off? Sniper, are you ready?
Let's go.
Yeah. Look, man. Me giving you advice would be like that. I might as well put a mirror right in front of me, because it's like what I tell myself, and I think you already know what to do, what you're doing. I think first things first. I think being a good person, I think, will outweigh or trump anything else that comes along. Being genuine will trump anything else that might be considered perhaps I hate using this word, like a shortcoming, when we all have them, but nevertheless, I'm going to shut up. Maybe we'll save that for this upcoming Sunday, Rhino. We have a special show on Sunday coming up.
Yeah.
We're going to close out Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Yes, that's what we're going to do. Okay. NFC North, fantasy football. Let's do the perfect draft. We're going to give you, Joe, the first pick of this specialized, tremendously reduced player pool. And then, I don't know, kind of give me like a blurb. Give the goats a blurb. Why you like the player? I mean, again, you're going to take a running back over another running back. So why would you go with this one versus that one? Why that quarterback versus this quarterback? Something along those lines. And I'll do the same, and Ryan will do the same.
All righty. So I'll go.
Please.
I'm going to go Jahmyr Gibbs, running back, Detroit Lions.
Yes, sir.
Not worried about David Montgomery. While David Montgomery was in the lineup last year and they played together, he still averaged 18.9 points per game. Looking at his snap share, it really only went up about 10 to 15% when Montgomery was out. So he's not playing the full snap share. The highest he played was 74%. So we're talking about a highly efficient running back right here. He finished the season, the last 5 weeks, he didn't have less than 25 points.
No doubt, man.
He balled out. Those last 5 weeks, also most of that, if not all of that, was actually without David Montgomery.
Right, it was.
Right.
That's the contingent upside if Montgomery misses time, and we know Montgomery's no spring chicken, and he's had injury problems in the past. He probably is, like, I probably give him about 3 missed games. If I was doing projections, 3 to 4 missed games, I would give Montgomery. What else? What else? So, what's up?
What I was going to say was if we have to stack Jahmyr Gibbs for this, again, this special exercise, if we have to stack Jahmyr Gibbs to the other running backs in this division, we all know who they are. It's Josh Jacobs. It would be Aaron Jones and maybe Jordan Mason, and
DeAndre Swift.
And DeAndre Swift. Yeah, no, this would be the running back to draft for this exercise.
So I'll go one further. Jahmyr Gibbs, if I have the 101, and I know we talked about this on X, okay, about how Jamar Chase is no sure 101, and I fully believe that. I agree with that. If I have the 101 in a draft, especially on the platform I play on, that's third round reversal, I'm taking a running back, and it's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs over Bijan. So he's basically my 101. So that's where I'm going.
I want to talk a little bit more about Jamar Chase. But when
we can.
No, we're going to when I hit start draft. Rhino, who's the second player off the board in the NFC North? Second player off the board.
Gotta go Jefferson, man. You have to go Jefferson. You have to.
It's probably Jefferson.
Yeah, because there's no what's there to say about him? He's quarterback proof. One. He's even more, probably more targets this year with McCarthy. And the KOC offense, that's a brainless pick.
It is one of those no-brainer picks.
I mean, look, he's consistent. He's consistently good.
With the
he runs all the routes. He's not touchdown dependent. He's Jets.
If you had the 1.3, Rhino.
Oof.
Yeah. I know. I'm kind of like going.
All right.
I'm even going further off script than I'd like to, but
all good, dude.
It begs the question. It does beg the question because we've got another wide receiver, and I'm not talking about Chase. I'm talking about Lamb Chops, who's also perhaps going ahead of Justin Jefferson, and I think a lot of that has to do with the unproven quarterback rookie. I mean, not rookie, but his first season.
And then if
possible,
if Bijan Robinson's there, I'm taking Bijan Robinson
at 1-3.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I mean, that's different. It's a different story altogether. Yeah. We'll see what the we'll see how this board shakes out. We've seen Bijan 1, we've seen Bijan 2, we've seen Bijan 3, we've seen Bijan 4. That's neither here nor there. Justin Jefferson would be wide receiver 1 in this division without a doubt. If we need to start 2 wide receivers and 2 running backs here, and it's my pick, I might as well. I don't like him, but I'll draft him. That would be Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah, if that's my wide receiver 2 in this divisional fantasy game, then I'll go with Mr. Consistent for the Lions.
Yeah,
with the perfect rapport with Jared Goff, with with someone who's been very reliable, hasn't missed much. Game here, maybe game there. I think he's missed 2 games actually in the last 4 or 5 seasons. If I'm going to nitpick a little bit, and we've spoken about this plenty of times here at the Fantasy Goats, I kind of expect the Lions in general to regress a little bit, missing their offensive coordinator, the war of attrition. I don't expect them to win 14 games, 15 games again. I expect them to not be as prolific. That doesn't mean that Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to have a lousy season. I just don't think he's going to. He might not have the same amount of catches, may not have the same amount of yards. I think he could probably still get 8 to 10 to 11 touchdowns. That's my wide receiver 2 here. You're up, Joe.
I just want to say I agree with the St. Brown take. I think the new offensive court, so Ben Johnson, that specific position is centered around Ben Johnson's play calling. So I'm thinking a new offensive coordinator might change a little bit. I mean, obviously, obviously they wouldn't want to keep things as similar as possible, but the philosophy could change slightly, and I think St. Brown's the guy that takes the hit there. So I agree with your take.
What I think, I don't think that the playbook and what they already have or what they've already become used to just goes away. That doesn't get put in the garbage.
No.
But what I do think is that this new play caller, whether he's calling the right plays at the right times at the right situations, that's where I think it could potentially get a little screwy for them. That's it.
Okay, so now I'm gonna keep it going, and I'm gonna do a Lion stack, and I'm gonna go Jameson Williams there.
Okay, so Jameson
as wide receiver 3.
Yeah,
so Amon St. Brown would be the slot, and then
Amon-Ra only plays the slot.
Yeah.
Is J-Mo poised for another huge leap, a big breakout?
Yes,
I mean, he
think so.
Kind of broke out last season.
When this guy came into the league, I compared him to Randy Moss, and I don't do that just out of all willy-nilly out of nowhere. So then he got hurt, and then he had the gambling thing, and then people were down on him, and then he got it back in. He played almost a full season last year. He had 90 targets, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. And I feel like some of that was inconsistent. So if we're talking a leap, and we're talking St. Brown not being the centered around the offense, not centering around him on St. Brown, maybe Jahmyr. I think that Jahmyr Gibbs gets leaned on more. And I could see Sam Laporta getting more involved than he was last year. I think it's going to be a more balanced approach as opposed to Amon-Ra getting the majority of targets and making the defenses adjust to that, and then calling the right play at the right time, like you said. I think that could, efficiency could take a hit, but consistent output might be better for Jameson Williams. I think he goes over 100 targets this year, and he's got that. Anytime he gets the ball, he can take one to the house. I think he hits double-digit touchdowns too, as long as if he's healthy for a full season, he's way going to outperform his current redraft ADP, which I believe is the 5th round,
5th or 6th round. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts about Ramadonze?
So the one thing so I know he come in all at this high profile. He runs all the routes. Here's the one thing that gets me. When I think of really good elite players, I think that they can perform under any circumstances possible, like Malik Nabers did last year, like Justin Jefferson did his rookie year. Just no circumstances can shut you out, and I think maybe the offensive line definitely didn't help his cause. So he could take a step forward this year, but I still think that DJ Moore is the best wide receiver there. Then they went out and drafted a guy who does the same exact stuff as Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you got Ben Johnson calling the plays. So something's got to give. I think if Odunze, so this year is going to be like a make or break year for him, and same thing for DJ Moore. Now, I thought at some point last year DJ Moore was going to get moved, and he never was. I still think it's possible DJ Moore can get moved. If that's the case, then we know Odunze is wheels up. Go ahead, Ron.
The one thing that just sticks in my head is the fact that Ben Johnson has been on the record last year saying that he really wanted to draft Odunze. So he was already high on him. And I think he sees Odunze as maybe the Amon St. Brown spot.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
I mean, Luther Burden looks just like him on like what he does on the field. So, I mean, I don't know. And then they go and get Colston Loveland, like the best pass catching tight end since Trey McBride come in the league. Like he reminds me a lot of Trey McBride. So I mean, it's tough to say. I guess it's all on Caleb. If Caleb Williams can beat Caleb, the number one pick that he is, then I mean they're all going to be serviceable, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm a little lower on Rome than consensus. I'm only picking him if he falls. I'm not. I don't think I'm targeting.
And I'm probably higher on him than
he's. I mean, I don't think he's not going to fall any far.
That's the problem. That's why I don't have much of him. That's why I don't have much of him. I mean,
he's definitely going in the counterproductive way than you would want Rome Odunze. I'll go last because then I do want to kick off this draft. And what do we have? We have 3 wide receivers. Did we go with only 2 running backs? Do we have 2 running backs? We have Jameer Gibbs.
You kind of went through. You kind of just said Josh Jacobs because that's the obvious. That's the obvious choice.
I'll go with Josh Jacobs for the sniper. Yeah, why not? Again, some of that has been a model of consistency, even on a shortened 2023 season with the Raiders, where like he was like kind of like nursing like a quad, or he was nursing like getting the hell out of the desert is what he was nursing.
Mm-hmm.
And look, he showed it big time last season. 10, 11 touchdowns, 13, 1,400 yards. Where we're drafting Josh Jacobs currently is absolute smash as far as I'm concerned. He
like 300 to 400 yards and receiving yards too.
Well, okay. So you know what? I forgot where I heard this from. Did I hear this from Rich Eisen? Where Josh Jacobs only had like 35 catches last year. He's more capable than that. Now, yes, we do believe that another running back will kind of step onto the field, but I don't necessarily think that will take that much snap share, carries, touches away from Josh Jacobs. I do think that LaFleur wants to use both of them in tandem. He wants to get back into that somewhat of a thunder lightning sort of thing that he had with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. So I think it still wheels up. I think Jacobs still has about another year or so of like elite production. If we're going to draft him, you're going to get him in the 3rd round. I think this is a good, sound draft pick. And now speaking of draft picks,
they improved their offensive line too,
and so critical. And
what about quarterback? See, I think just because of potential wise, I think I'd go Caleb Williams.
So if you want like a ceiling, I think you would want to do Caleb or Jordan Love.
Yeah.
And then like the safest option would probably be Jared Goff. The safest option.
The man that runs like a baby giraffe.
Yeah. I actually have a team where I took Caleb and Jared Goff. So I think it's a pretty good pairing if you ask me. You get a fallback QB if the high upside doesn't pan out. I think that Caleb's rushing ability is definitely underestimated. He they didn't add a running back,
so
and they're going to be passing the ball. I think they're going to be passing. They're going to have a higher pass volume than they did last year, and it wouldn't surprise me if you've seen Caleb tuck it and go a few times.
I definitely think that he has the ability. I definitely think that he's athletic enough. But I wouldn't put him in the same class or same category as Jaden Daniels or
no. He's not going to get 700-800, but he might get 500. He might get 500.
So yeah, I guess I would maybe put him into that. What, Drake May? Drake May could.
No, Drake May is going to be up there with those guys. You'll see.
That's right. I forgot. Yes, there's your quarterback, Drake May, ladies and gentlemen.
Go look at his. I have to bring it up. You got to see his running. His running efficiency numbers.
It's like we were doing the show for league winners 2 nights ago. I think Drake May could be a league winner this year.
Things have to go right. Things have to go right, Ron.
I think they. I mean, God, if they use Trayvon Henderson right, what's your thoughts on Trayvon Henderson?
I love him. He was my favorite running back other than Genty going in. And I got to be honest with you, was blindsided by the pick. Did not see it coming. I was when they said Travion Henderson, I was like, I just won the lottery. Like, I swear to God. And it hurt me a little bit because I didn't think that they were going to use high draft capital on a running back, and I was drafting Ramondre in early best balls. Mm-hmm. so because of that, and I was totally wrong. And it made me smile as well because it meant that was a Mike Vrabel pick. That was no Bob Kraft pick, and that indicates to me that Vrabel's calling the shots and the owners staying where he needs to be in the box, collecting his money and being Bob Kraft like he used to be. Let the guys do their job.
You have like ears to the ground. You have like ears to the ground for the Patriots. So what's your read on Kyle Williams?
So I think I like him. He's a great route runner. He's smooth. I don't think he gets more targets than Diggs, and I don't think he gets the volume in year one.
Do you think Demario Douglas is probably the best wide receiver they're drafting? Okay.
Demario is very underrated. Demario's like going to be like a Wan'Dale Robinson type of player for the Patriots. I like Hunter Henry. I think Hunter Henry's going way undervalued. I think Hunter Henry's still a big part of it. He was probably the most chemistry between any pass catcher and Drake May last year was Hunter Henry.
Now, a lot of the best ball drafts I've been grabbing. I was grabbing Kyle Williams late, but now I'm starting to lean more towards Demario Douglas.
I would.
Just because I said what you hear from the talking heads,
Pop.
About like Boutte and
Pop.
It's just the rest.
And Diggs and
things are going to get spread around.
Things pushed down.
Things are going to be spread around, and they got two great runners. They have now. I'm not out like Ramondre. He's still going to get run, but he's not going to get the same type of high value touches that Travion's going to get. And Josh McDaniels involves the running backs more than any single wide receiver. So that's why I'm not sold on the volume for anybody outside of Diggs, really. And
what are you hearing about Efton Chisholm?
It's all buzz right now. I mean, same thing. Like I got to see. I probably won't make any decisions on the wide receiver the New England pass catchers until training camp.
Okay.
And like preseason, a couple of preseason games have gone by, and maybe one or two of the guys get cut. Like Kendrick Bourne is still there. So
that's what I was about to say. They have so many wide receivers. One or two of these guys aren't going to make the team. I'm not sure. Don't ask me which one. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Nice.
Jay Podolivo Goat took Jamar Chase 1.01. He took the guesswork out of the equation. But I do want to ask, Joe, why would Jamar Chase not be the acceptable 1.1 here? And I know that you understand why many are drafting him first overall.
Yeah, of course.
It's you know what I mean? Like for him, he's not going to replicate last season. The question is just how much less will it be? That's the question. While it's still an excellent season.
So I just don't think he sets himself apart from everybody. Last year he had an ungodly season. We know that. We do know that he's attached to Joe Burrow. That's I think that Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL. I think Cincinnati is poised for a Super Bowl run. Mm-hmm. But T. Higgins is also going to be playing this year fully healthy. And I just think that it's not going to be. He's not going to have the crazy, 15 plus target multiple times this year, and it's going to dip into his ceiling overall.
Wouldn't it be something? Wouldn't it be just some crazy stroke of luck that T. Higgins decides to play 17 games this year?
I know.
Wouldn't that be something? Because if he does, then I could see that being part of the reason why Jamar Chase isn't getting the same amount of targets, isn't getting the same amount of catches. I don't want to say that Jamar Chase is going to now take off plays because he's got paid. I don't want to say that. Do I want to use okay, is Joe Burrow going to maybe take a step back? I certainly don't want to say that. We want Joe Shiesty.
Yes, we do.
To throw for 5,000 yards. We're all counting that. But so then, if he's going to throw for 5,000 yards, that means Jamar Chase may freaking finish again as the wide receiver one.
But what if, because I was in a conversation with somebody about Jamar Chase today, and I said, well, what if Jermaine Burton takes that second-year lead? Maybe what if he got his head on straight? And T. Higgins, like you just said, is healthy. Jamar Chase's targets will go down just because of those two reasons too. Especially if Jermaine Burton gets his head on straight, man. Just the sky's the limits for that offense because it's just another weapon for him.
I'm gonna make a roster construction argument too. I think that when it comes back obviously there's still running backs there, but I think that if you take a running back in that spot, when it comes back around and you have those two picks in a row, it gives you more options on what you can do and where you can go from there. You can kind of carve a path, not a plan, but carve a path based on having more options there.
Right.
I think that you can take a wide receiver, even if you only do one wide receiver with those two picks. You can you can still get yourself a clear-cut wide receiver one. So now you got the best running back on the board plus still a wide receiver one. That's kind of like another reason why I look at it that way. You just have more options on roster construction going forward.
Do you have a certain draft strategy, or do you change it up each draft?
I'm adaptive. If I draw the same spot twice in the same contest, I might mix it up. Or if I didn't like the way I built my team around the guy that I drafted, I'll take that guy again and try to do a better job. So, but I'm adaptive. I don't necessarily have a plan. I'll study the landscape of the ADP, and I'll kind of pick a round or two where I might reach because you know what I mean.
Yeah,
but I'm not overdoing that. I'm not overdoing it, but there's certain sweet spots that you want to get in the sweet spot. Every draft has a sweet spot, and there's usually more than one. There's usually 2 or 3 sweet spots. You want to, if you have to do something silly to change the order and the landscape of what's going on, to maybe manipulate it so that the sweet spot gets closer to you. I mean, I don't know if you guys relate to that, but I've done so many drafts that like I feel like you can manipulate things to a degree.
How much different are you drafting in the high stakes format because of the money that's invested versus a charity league versus
not much different. Not much different. I take everything as serious as possible.
Yeah, because look, the way I look at it, to be completely honest, and maybe you do, maybe you don't. Okay, I'm up on the clock. It's the 5th round. There are 3-4 players that I like. What's the difference whether how much money's attached to it? I'm gonna select this guy because I don't like the other two. And why would that change? Why would I like another guy just because there's more money attached to it? That doesn't.
I don't know. It doesn't make that much of a difference.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but you never know. Look, you never know. Sometimes when you when there's a lot of money attached to a certain thing, a certain item,
sometimes when you're playing against high stakes opponents that if you snipe them and you take the wide receiver they wanted, and the next wide receiver isn't good, they have no problem loading up on running back, and so like everybody's making adjustments. So it's like it's not, I don't know how to say it. It's not like you need to change the way you play.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. How do you feel about Mr. Cortland Sutton this season?
I like him. I know some people are down on him. Some people think that Pat Bryant is going to dig into him.
Well, I don't know if it's Pat Bryant or if it's Marvin Mims
or Evan Ingram
or Evan Ingram or Devon Veal. We affectionately call him Veal. Or if it's throwing to J.K. Dobbins, or if it's throwing to RJ. I mean, all I know is that there are plenty of people there that are that could very well take the opportunity and run with it if they have, if they're in a good, good timing, good rhythm, good connections with a second-year quarterback in Bo Nix. Look, Marvin Mims is coming into his third year in the NFL, and we saw these glimpses of him kind of breaking out. He's being used at the line of scrimmage. He's being used deep. I think Marvin Mims is set up, and now I'm giving away trade secrets. But yeah, so now back to maybe Evan Ingram, Joe. I mean, like, Evan Ingram is more on the mold of Cortland Sutton, a tall wide receiver. And Evan Ingram, we know, is a tight end, but still, he's like that tall, like, go up and get it, contested ball thrown at him. And Cortland Sutton can't separate.
No, but here's what I see. I'm going to tell you what I see. Okay, Bo Nix leaned on Cortland Sutton last year. He's huge in the red zone. He's huge in the red zone. Hold on, let me keep going. You mentioned Marvin Mims. When I look at this Denver offense and Evan Ingram, I see Evan Ingram as a little bit of a cheaper version of Jimmy Graham. I see Sutton being Michael Thomas, and I see Mims being more like Kenny Stills. Now, Kenny Stills' big knock as a fantasy weapon was he didn't get enough touches or enough volume, and he was kind of a high upside, low ceiling play. And I feel like that's what Marvin Mims is going to be. I know he flashed down the stretch last year. I just don't think the usage is going to be there. And you factor in R.J. Harvey, J.K. Dobbins. It's just Sutton's the only. I mean, I love Ingram because he's a tight end and he's a great value. He's going in the middle of the draft.
Yeah,
but I'm in on Sutton. So there's the thing: you got to draft Sutton properly. I'm not taking Sutton in heavy wide receiver build. If I'm going 3 or 4 wide receivers in the first 5 rounds, I don't want Sutton to be part of it. I'm taking Sutton when I go Genty, then Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
That's when I want a Cortland Sutton to be part of my 3 wide receiver mix.
So
because of the consistency, he's going to be consistent. His you know what I mean. I don't know, that's the best way I can explain it.
I understand exactly how you want to, attack Cortland Sutton. I think it has to do a lot with not necessarily the build. I think it has a lot to do with the price tag on him. The price tag is way high. I would happily take a flyer on Cortland Sutton if he was going in the 7th or 8th round. 5th round ADP right now, I'd rather go find somebody else. I'd rather take the swing on a rookie and not a rookie wide receiver. I'd rather get my second RB maybe. Let
me ask you this. Cortland Sutton, DK Metcalf, and DJ Moore are there. Who are you picking? You need a wide receiver. Never mind the running backs.
That's a good question. It would not be
Metcalf and Sutton.
It would probably be DJ Moore, DK, and then Sutton. Yeah, I would go with the upside of DJ Moore maybe still being that de facto wide receiver 1 on the Bears offense that we think is going to be pretty solid. Not that the Broncos offense is projected to be bad, not at all. But I think I would go DJ Moore there, and then I would then go DK as the projected wide receiver 1 for Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't like that either, though.
See, I think I'd go DK, DJ, and then Sutton, because DK isn't fighting for targets like the other 2 wide receivers are. Well, maybe not as much as Sutton, but he's still fighting targets, especially with Ingram, which that's funny you referenced Jimmy Graham, because just the other night when we were doing our tight end show, I had said that he's the Jimmy Graham in Peyton's offense now. The hybrid tight end / wide receiver. He got traded to Seattle because he didn't get paid as a tight end. Remember back in whatever it was, and then Seattle actually paid him as a wide receiver because of the targets and the yards and everything and how he was used.
What's James doing? Are you going to make a pick or what?
I don't think so. Unfortunately, my friend, I don't think he's going to make a pick. I wish that we would be able to get through the first round because I know that Uncle Mercy is ready. I know that the Sniper's ready. I know that the Champ is ready. I know that you're ready. You're next after that. Then we got the real deal fantasy. Laquan, our guy Masks, New England Football Junkie, then you, Rhino, and then Delani Goat. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to get the pick, and I unfortunately may have to think of other arrangements.
Auto pick his ass. No. Who's he get? Saquon? Mel would hate that.
No, she wouldn't. I don't think so.
I think she won't like it.
She likes tight ends.
Yeah, not in this round. Hopefully not in this round. Not in this format. Although they are premium here.
I would go 3 tight ends just to piss her off.
And all of Sniper Mel's tight ends are premium. We'll give James some more time. I mean, again, we do have it set up this way.
Have you reached out to him at all?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I text him.
Oh, yes. All right.
We were just listening to rumors in the space there. He was there. I know he was in there.
I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was. Shh. Sniper says shh.
Bye, Felicia.
Shh. Don't give away trade secrets. Well, I think we could wrap it up. Unless you want to just sit on here and keep bullshitting. I think we could wrap it up because again, I may look into making other arrangements at this time. Well, I mean, look.
No.
The first 45 minutes, basically an hour, actually, have been absolutely fantastic. I'm glad that we had Joe on. I mean, because again, this is someone that we have very similar parallels to. We do. We started almost at around the same time playing. We started doing this content thing almost at around the same time. We play in the same leagues. We don't necessarily always have the same philosophies, but that's okay. That's what makes fantasy fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When it's all said and done, it's a goat. It's a motherfucking goat. That's all I got to say. All right, guys. Well, I don't know if apologies are in order. I wish that we could go through a whole round here live. I'd love to talk about the players. I mean, we can't skip this pick, right, and get to Mercy. I mean, that doesn't work that way. I do like tight ends. We know you like your tight ends. In more ways.
I'll be quiet on which ones this time. I'll shh.
Shh. Don't share any of the trade secrets. As if like we don't know any of them. All right. Well, Joe, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Wish you nothing but the best successes with all the endeavors. Doing what your podcasting, your fantasies, your family, your poker, you're traveling to play poker and draft. All of it, man. All of it. Stay healthy. stay you. Stay being you. That's all I can
I'm good. I'm in a great mental place, and it's been like a long time coming, really. So, like I said, the sports affiliation stepped in at the perfect time. Like they couldn't have timed it any better. So they
can relate.
Like life saving, really.
Look, I think that's a personal message to you, Joe. From one Cortland Sutton stand to another.
Nice. I was in on him last year too, when everybody else was hyping up. Who was I'm trying to think. Sutton was getting slammed last year too, and I was like, Sutton's the guy you want there. But yeah, I'm in on him. Appreciate that, Rob. Is it Rob? Yeah, Rob.
It's all good. I have new plans. What plans? I want to know about the plans. Oh, draft plans. Sniper's pivoting. That's what she's doing. She's pivoting.
She's gonna snipe me now.
Yeah, she is. No, she is now. She is now.
She likes to do that.
That's what you meant by that.
She has now mastered the art of the pivot. That's the name of a podcast too, by the way, the Pivot Podcast. Not that I recommend anybody taking a listen to it, because it's just basically about social media and junk. In any event, guys, thank you very much for joining us this evening. This has been a fantastic show. I don't know why I'm staring at this board, because it's just I'm upset. I'm upset by the events right now. I am.
If we end the show and James makes a pick like 2 minutes later, I'm gonna be like, what the.
See, like, give him and you know what's funny? You know what's interesting? We know this guy. I don't think he's not going to care. That's the other part. He's not going to care whether I give him Gibbs or not. But like, who the hell wants to play that way? I don't want there to be a free week for everybody.
No,
which is where we're heading.
No, we went. Yeah,
we had a member play in this very league last season. It damn near was might as well have been a bye week. It was easy win. This is what it's turning out to be. Rhino laughs. It was an easy win. This is what this is turning into. All right, we'll go on that note.
And just we'll be doing a special show Sunday on mental health awareness with a special guest, Greg Williamson, former Rams defensive back, and Dr. Steve Brewer, and hopefully some more guests. So make sure you tune in at 6 o'clock Eastern time.
What time?
6 o'clock.
6 Eastern.
Yeah.
6 Eastern.
6 Eastern.
I thought it was earlier. Okay. You have a show on Sunday also. Yes, we do. But we're here for your entertainment.
Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to their channel.
Yes, please.
Appreciate that.
Hit the notification button.
Fantasy Goats, have a wonderful weekend. We will see you again on Sunday.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on, guys.
Be a difference, make a difference.
More than welcome.